order of the Prescott Preservation Commission, the November 13th, 2020 public hearing of our commission. Members present are Marianne Suttles, James McCarver, Richard Sprain, Mike King, Rob Johnson, sorry. And I'm Robert Burford, the chair. Staff members present are Kat Moody, our preservation specialist. George Worley was here, just stepped out. Kaylee Nunez, our recording secretary, and Councilman Phil Good. Appreciate everyone being here. If you have a little trouble hearing me, I'll speak up. This is an open public hearing and is being videotaped and tape recorded by the city. The proceedings are being televised and representatives of the public media, local cable and/or radio stations may also be rebroadcast. The number of commission members present is 6. I believe that is accurate. It will require 4 votes for a majority. All parties wishing to be heard on an issue are required to raise their hands and be recognized by the chair prior to speaking. Speakers will be expected to state their name and address for the record so that we may know who is speaking and be able to contact them at a later date as necessary. Please turn off all your cell phones and other devices if you haven't already done so, and sign the attendance roster by the door before leaving the meeting. With that, I will turn to our agenda, and the first order of business is the approval of minutes from the September 11th, 2020 meeting. There was just a bit of a typo there. It states, actually for the members here or whoever has an agenda, September 9th, but it was September 11th. Just want to clarify that. And with that, I will ask if everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes and if there are any corrections or changes to the last meeting's minutes. Hearing none, I will.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes from the September 11th meeting.
Thank you, Mike.
I'll second it.
Second, thank you. The motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the September 11th meeting. Those in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, unanimous. We move on to our next order of business, which is HP 20-011. The address is 113 West Goodwin Street in our Historic Preservation District number 1, the Courthouse Plaza. And it is a request for a new sign to replace existing signage for realty executives on Goodwin Street. I will turn this over to Ms. Moody.
Good morning.
Hi, Kat.
Hi. As indicated, this is at 113 West Goodwin. This property is part of the Courthouse Plaza National Register District. This particular building is not listed in the register primarily due to age. And I've got a couple of old photos. And actually, let me put up this one first. So the building was constructed in about 1945. This is a shot Bill Otwell took in the 70s prior to the renovation of the Chamber Building. So this was when the Chamber Building still had its sort of applied front facade that was later removed and restored. But you can see, I thought this was ironic because this is a realty company in this spot here. This is Polly McDonald Realty company, so it's sort of a full circle type of thing. Originally, the building was constructed as a grocery store, and it served as a grocery store through the early 40s and into the 50s. This shot's from 1987, when it was the stockroom office supply store. And then some of you may remember this space has been a lot of things. It was a bookstore for a while, the Paper Penguin, and
If you're here for a while, you're taking us down memory lane.
yeah. So, I mean, I remember going in here and buying office supplies in the stockroom. So, so this is that just, to show how reuse of these courthouse plaza buildings, if, we're flexible about these kinds of uses, you really get gotta get a lot of life out of them. So right now, this is the way that storefront looks at this point. So we do have the restored chamber building here. And then Realty Executives has taken the full space through this entire building. And this is another shot of the current signage that shows both signs a little more closely. And so the proposal here is to remove the two existing signs that are on the building. So they have this New Home Marketplace, which are individual letters mounted to a raceway. And then there's this panel sign that has the Realty Executives of Northern Arizona. And the proposal is to remove those two signs and then place a individual pan channel letters on Raceway above the Goodwin Street facet of this business. The idea here being that the signage they currently have, while this sign is fairly large and really focuses over that front entry, it's not particularly visible from Montezuma and from the plaza. And so in the idea is to place a larger sign here that really reflects the brand of the business and indicates that this is a Realty Executive's office. So that is the proposed plan. The removal of the old signs will trigger patching and repair and painting of the wall to match the current paint color on the wall and texture. And then the new sign will be mounted to the wall. And it is LED illuminated. And the square footage of this sign is well within the allotted square footage. It comes in at 27.75 square feet, and that's well within what this business is allowed for this location. And we do have the sign contractor here if you have any questions, and with that, I'll turn it over to you all for discussion.
Any comments? I have a couple of questions. Oh, Mary Ann.
I was down here yesterday and went over under it and looked and across the street and looked, so I'm aware of it. I picked up my agenda but didn't realize that the marketplace was coming down also, because thought that was a pretty good sign myself.
That was.
If they left that New Home Marketplace, this sign would have put them over their allotted square footage. So this sign would have either had to have been about 20% smaller in order to keep them right at the limit, or I think, I agree, the New Home Marketplace is a nice looking sign, but I believe that the intent here is that they really want their signage to reflect their brand, and New Home Marketplace doesn't really achieve that.
Sure.
I did have a question. This says it's going to be mounted on a raceway. Are the letters going to then stand proud of the actual wall, or will they be, and is this raceway like, 2 inches deep, or I just wondering about how it's,
Sure, sure. The
Can you
raceways,
state your
Oh,
name and
yes.
address? Sorry.
Brian Wywick, 691 6th Street. The raceways are 4 inches deep, and the whole point of the raceway is to contain all the wiring aspects of the sign, so that you're not making more penetrations into the building. It just makes for a quicker, cleaner install. And also, when we remove the sign, there's fewer holes to patch. Unlike the other sign, the new home marketplace, where those are direct to wall, so there's more penetrations that have to be patched. Our part of the contract is just simply to remove those and patch with acrylic, latex caulk. The client is gonna do the painting and final touch-up of the wall, so.
so the new letters will actually be sitting on the raceway, not on the wall.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
And will the light be either on or off, or being LED? I know we can do a lot of things with them these days.
Yeah, what we'll probably have it on a timer, just because the photocells tend to not work all that well downtown with all the streetlights. So it'll most likely be on a timer to where it does turn off at whatever time they see fit.
Right, but no color changes or flashing or that kind of thing?
Just white.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks, Brian.
sure, no problem.
Yeah. Other comments or questions of Brian, or comments about the sign in general? Then I would entertain a motion from the commission on this issue.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I recommend we approve HP 20-011, request for a new sign replacing existing signage for realty executives.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Thank you. There is a motion to approve this agenda item, HP 20-1011. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Our next agenda item is any sort of update of current events from Ms. Moody or any of the council members.
I do have
Shouldn't
one
members, I
update.
apologize.
I got a call, this was probably almost a year ago, from a longtime local resident who had actually ordered and paid for and placed a plaque on the Mackin building out at the rodeo grounds for her grandfather. And when Miller Valley School came down, she was interested in trying to help facilitate getting a plaque or some kind of historic marker placed for the school building. That triggered an entire, exploratory project on my part, and I put together a proposal for a roadside marker, which is like our typical historic plaques downtown on the pole mounted. Those are called roadside markers. They're not cheap to purchase, and so it's one reason why the ones that were placed downtown were funded through grant funds, and that was the way the city was able to develop a historic marker program without breaking the bank, was by using grant funds. So in this case, I went to the Questers organization. There's two here in town. In this case, Thumb Butte Questers was interested in funding the purchase for this roadside marker. So you have to go through their whole approval process with both the local chapter and the national organization. And the plaque arrived this week. So we will be having a some kind of event out there. It'll just be a small thing. I'm going to try to get it advertised through both the city's Facebook page, and then also I'll contact the Courier so that people who were students at Miller Valley School or have some kind of connection with that school and want to be there for the plaque unveiling, they can do that. So I'm actually meeting the Parks and Rec gentleman out there later this morning to decide on the mounting location and arrange for the installation of the pole. And then at some point, that marker will be placed in the pocket park where the Boy Scout bronze statue is now. So we're going to try to find a good location. And the marker has an old photo of that, original Miller Valley School building with the archway with the date over the door. And then it has a whole narrative about the history of the school.
Nice.
Yeah, so look for that. It's coming.
Thank you for the update. Is there anything before the Miller Valley School? Because that whole area was agriculture and. some of the-
That's mentioned in the plaque, that it was, originally a dairy farm and,
okay,
so that's in the text of the plaque. Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep. So that is something to look for. It's coming. I will try to get the word out there so that when we do get the plaque mounted, we can have some kind of just small outdoor, ceremony.
That's great.
Yeah.
I wish we had the school there,
Yeah, I agree.
but I'm not able to fund that.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's great.
unfortunately, that
That's-
was, not a call that, it was a call the school district had to
Oh,
make.
that's great. Appreciate your efforts on that.
Yeah. So we also, working with the Questers, because this kind of spurred on a relationship with them, and we've done other projects that the Questers have helped fund. They helped fund most recently the restoration of the windows at the Armory, and so they offset some of the city's costs for that window restoration. And I think, this commission reviewed that project where they took out the old air conditioning units out of those windows because the city had done HVAC improvements, and that allowed for those units to come out. And then restoration of the steel bars over the windows that were in keeping with the original configuration for the Armory. And the Questers helped fund that. And the next project we're looking at them funding is also a plaque, and that is a plaque on the railroad trestle bridge associated with the Hilton Garden Inn project. So I'm working with the developer there to arrange for the mounting of a plaque on one of the bridge uprights. And the Questers, the two groups are teaming up to fund that plaque. So both Thumb Butte Questers and the Yavapai County chapter are going to split that cost half-half, and they're going to be able to help us get a plaque on the railroad trestle bridge. So that's coming down the road. That plaque's on order, but pretty recently ordered, so I don't expect it for another couple of months.
Ms. Moody? Recently, this week was an update on the Granite Creek plan to renovate and bring more beauty and more culture and more history into that. There are photos at the Charlotte Hall Museum. I've used them in my water presentations about what Granite Creek looked like a long time ago. There may be some opportunities to do some interpretation for businesses and things that occurred along Granite Creek. I just offer that as a suggestion and
Yeah,
for future
agreed.
projects.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, the city did an entire, and this is mentioned on the railroad plaque as well, that the creek was realigned to allow for that trestle bridge to go where it's located now. So there was a pretty serious effort, and that we shifted the entire channel to sort of narrow it down through there. So that corridor through that west side of the park has changed substantially over time. So
I just had a question about that area on Goodwin that we have reviewed. That's not historic National Register.
that building is not, but when we re-inventory the district, it would qualify. So when the district was originally formed, it was not eligible because the building wasn't over 50 years old. The building maintains its integrity, and it would likely be eligible at this point today.
So have they changed the outside of it over time a lot? Has it been?
Not substantially. It's been fairly consistent. It was originally it looked very much the same that it looks today. There's been some change to the front door and some of the storefront windows, but they're nothing that's really substantial.
Any other comments from this side of the table or the public? With that, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.